So you want to throw some sticky goo at your players. Wait a minute. So you want to hit your players with some slimy goo boys. Let's just talk about slime goos and jellies. So there are effectively two types of slimes you might want to throw at your parties. First, we have the intelligent slimes, like Ooblix and Mimics, that have some semblance of strategy and can turn into shit. Well, not literally. Actually, yes, literally. Would a Mimic turn into an outhouse, or would it just turn into... You know what? Never mind. Gross. Long story short, we're not going to be talking about the intelligent goos. Oozes? Let's go with oozes. And yes, I'm counting Mimics as oozes. Don't even get me started on changelings. But with the meaty flesh goos out of the way...
Did you say meaty flesh goose?
No. No, I did not. I thought we had a deal. I thought we weren't going to talk about the goose anymore. Yes, no more goose. All right, moving on. What we're left is all the ichor-based slimes. Ichor, ichor, whatever. Including oozes, slimes, puddings, jellies, gummies, taffies... Wait a minute, that's candy. These are the mindless oozes. Whether they're ambulatory molds or magically crafted garbage disposals, supposed to be inconvenience encounters at best, and well-laid traps at their most deadly. And that's really the way I like to run slimes. Not as intelligent predators, but slow, lumbering obstacles that should be terrifying if put in the right situations. Let's take a look at some of them. One of my favorite elements of the holy of holy gelatinous cube is how well they blend into the environments. And I quote, transparent. Even when the cube is in plain sight, it takes a successful DC 15 wisdom or perception check to spot the cube that has neither moved nor attacked. A creature that tries to enter the cube space while unaware of the cube is surprised by the cube. And it goes further to include any creature entering the cube square automatically takes the engulfing damage. Some of my favorite gelatinous cube traps are just open doorways. The trick is to describe the scene correctly. Instead of relying on the players to roll perception or haphazardly walking through one of the doors, give them the benefit of the doubt. With your passive perception, you notice that the lighting down the hall isn't quite right. You see a single coin floating in the air.
Ooh, can I touch it?
Sure. Roll a reflex save.
Aw, dang.
Most oozes and jellies aren't malicious and cunning. They are just patient. Very, very patient. And gelatinous cubes are notorious for just sitting around until unwitting creatures or adventurers just walk into them, quite literally. The other options, such as black puddings and ochre jellies, love to just hang from ceilings or walls, dropping down on anything that walks underneath them. Traps never feel good for a player unless you give them some chance of avoidance. The difference between a black goo just falling from a ceiling onto a player and enticing them into investigating a room covered in dark stains that may be dried blood or some kind of ichorous liquid, but they'll need to investigate it to find out. You may have trails that lead across the floor, all the way to the edges of the rooms where the players find piles of bones, mismatched and in various states of decay. All of these descriptions lead to a medicine checks or survival rolls, and even if the player straight up asks to inspect the ceiling, most oozes have a stealth that is good enough that you can still get the jump on some of the players that are out of position. Oozes are terrifying. You don't have to gussy them up, making them some secret agent, spy, or shape changer. You just have to give them the ambience and terror that they deserve. Ogre jellies are surprisingly dangerous because of their ability to just split and continue on fighting. They are surprisingly easy to avoid, but if you place one in front of a door and the only means of getting through that door is to either find a way to move, outsmart, or go through, pretty much every barbarian is just going through that slime and all hell's gonna break loose. Kobolds dropping a few of these from a ceiling hatch, throwing these behind them out of jars as they're running down the hallway can really cause up some chaos for your party to deal with. As a reaction, whenever the jelly is a medium or larger, it is subjected to lightning or slashing damage, it splits into 2 new jellies if it has at least 10 hit points. Each new jelly has hit points equal to half the original jellies rounded down, and then the book says that they become one size smaller than the original jelly. But in my mind, if you're doing that, it should really be broken down into 4s. So a very large jelly should break into 4 medium jellies, which should be 4 small jellies. So you could divide it by a quarter and give it way more hit points. You can infinitely scale these up to match the difficulty for your party, which can lead to a lot of really fun encounters. Another good one is describing to someone the strange inability to see into a dark room or down a hallway.
But I have dark vision.
Yeah, that's kind of weird. It's like there's some dark membrane covering the entryway.
Can I touch it?
Don't touch it. Yeah, you can touch it.
Okay, here we go.
Acid damage. Boom, gotcha. Idiot. There are so many different levels of severity to go on with this mechanic. You can choose to give them outs or roll reflex saves, but if they're willingly walking into, touching, or grabbing an ooze, I'm not sure they should get a save. I'm not sure a save is required. You don't get a reflex save if you decide to touch a hot pan to see if it's hot. Do you? I mean, you just get burned, right? Like, that's how oozes work. I've seen a lot of things online with people talking about keeping slimes and oozes as pets, kobolds keeping them in jars and throwing them at players. I think that's totally fine. The oozes themselves aren't necessarily aggressively hostile, they are opportunistically hostile. So if you can contain one, it's probably fine. And as long as you keep feeding it, it will keep growing and getting bigger and stronger and more and splitting. And you could just start your own, I don't know, slime ranch of some kind and sell them. I don't know what that game is about. Jellies aren't meant to be tacticians or spies, really clever, or have this innate ability to outsmart the party. You really have to leave it up to the impatience of your party, or the ever-growing numbers of oozes, or the inopportune placement of these devastating, slow-moving death puddles. I might start calling them that. Now, mind you, if you really want to mess with people's heads, most jellies don't dissolve bones and metals, so it's quite possible to really get some Cronenberg level of horror thrown in there before the day is done. Maybe the party thinks they're looking at a zombie, but really what they're looking at is a transient skeleton just happening to be drug along by a well-fed ooze, or a random pile of bones that happens to slurp across the floor. Maybe they should be questioning why this pile of gold is sticky. You can pick the gold up, it seems fine, but you pile all that gold up and put it in a bag, and all of a sudden you're carrying around a gold-filled ooze pocket. It's like a hot pocket, but it's filled with acidic slime. Probably better for your health than a regular hot pocket. Maybe the party should question about all those things they pick up that are covered in ichor before they stick it into their bag of holding. They might just be fostering a giant ooze pet that eventually one day just vomits out of the bag and eats everybody in the night. It is one thing to have a mimic disguised as a corpse, but finding a magical helmet and packing it away, not knowing that it's full of killer slime, can be just as devastating. Thanks again for watching. Now get out there and kill your party with some jelly. Jam? Jams and jellies? Should you jam your part? I don't know how this works anymore. Keep your dice on the table, everybody. Whether they're supposed to be ambulatory. It means they got feet. Well, not that they have feet, but they can move. They are mobile. Like an ambulance. God damn it.